Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we got another Power Rankings video to discuss. Week 14 of the Power Ranking series is behind us. We're looking at all the stuff that happened in Week 14 that saw a couple of shipments in the top 10 and the honorable mentions and the Ontario teams go up. We'll get to all that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the Intent Hockey channel. Before we begin this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. Thank you for all your support and everything to you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below and don't forget to comment down in the comment section below so someone else gets into this video. So as usual, week 14 of our Power Rankings, we got another top 10 Power Rankings to discuss, plus some 4 honorable mentions. Lots of intriguing weeks that a lot of teams have had that's bumped a couple of teams into either our honorable mentions or our top 10 Power Rankings. So look at all those teams here. So first look at the 4 honorable mentions as we usually do. So our fourth honorable mention is a team who had 3 wins last week, 3 out of a possible 4 wins, and that is the St. Louis Blues. Blues had a fantastic start to the week, had a home and home with Calgary, beat the Flames both times, which was able to allow them to gain into the wildcard race. They then lost on Saturday to Utah before they beat the Vegas Golden Knights in a shootout. Blew a late lead, but did recover and get the extra point. So very good game there from the St. Louis Blues. Very good week, getting 3 out of possible 4 points. Those 2 wins against Calgary were especially important given how close they are to them in the playoff race. So St. Louis is back in the playoff race. They won 3 out of possible 4 games this week. Looked good offensively. Shen, Holloway, Neighbors, Kyrou, Buchnevich all looking really good. Defensively, Tucker, Parayko, Broberg all looking really good right now. And in net, Binnington and Hofer have given them some solid goaltending over the past couple of games. So solid week there from the Blues, going 3-1-0. Now having a record of 23-21-4, and I'm putting them as my 4th honorable mention. My 3rd honorable mention is another team who had a solid week last week, going 3-1-0, and that is the Montreal Canadiens. Canadiens started out the week with a 5-3 victory over Utah. Then they were able to get a 3-1 victory over Dallas. They then had a 3-0 lead over Toronto before they blew it and lost 7-3 to them. And then they were able to come away with a victory over the New York Rangers in overtime 5-4. So 3 out of a possible 4 wins, 6 out of a possible 8 points. A pretty solid week. And had they won all 4 games, I would have considered putting them in my top 10. But they win 3 out of a possible 4 games and they have a solid week this week. So solid week for the Habs, who are now 23-19-4 in their standings. Like I said, offensively, Laine, Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky, Heineman, all looking really good offensively. Defensively, Gooley, Matheson, Hudson, all looking really good this past week. And Annette, Montembeault, and Dobes have given them some pretty stellar level goaltending. So a really solid week there from the Canadiens, winning 3 out of possible 4, and have them as my 3rd honorable mention. My 2nd honorable mention is one of the Ontario teams who had another fantastic week last week, getting 3 out of a possible 4 wins as well, 7 out of a possible 8 points, and that's the Ottawa Senators. Senators who have been playing fantastic defensively this week. Shout out the New York Islanders to start it out, beating them 2-0, then lost in overtime to the Capitals 1-0. Then they were able to get back-to-back wins on the weekend, first beating the Boston Bruins in a shootout 6-5, and then beating the New Jersey Devils 2-1. So a very great week there from Ottawa, as they were able to get 3 out of possible 4 wins, 7 out of possible 8 points, and get back into a playoff spot. Like offensively, this team is clicking. Stützle, Norris, Highmore, or Sapchuk, Gaudette, they're all looking really good offensively. Defensively, Sanderson, Shabbat, Jensen are looking great. And in net, Forsberg and Merolainen have been giving them some outstanding goaltending. Besides that Boston Bruins game, only gave up 2 goals in those other 3 games. So a really fantastic defensive performance this week from the Senators. They went 3 out of a possible 4 games, and I had them as my 2nd honorable mention. And my 1st honorable mention is the same 1st honorable mention as it was last week, and that is the Los Angeles Kings. They had a decent week this week, going 1-2-0, but it's not enough to get themselves back into the top 10. They started the week off with a 5-1 victory over the Canucks. Very impressive stuff there. But then they lost to Seattle back over on Saturday and got destroyed by Penguins over on Monday. So it wasn't an overly great end to the week. Had a decent start to the week, but still only got a win. They probably want to see them beat Seattle. You probably want to see them beat Pittsburgh, especially with how they're slipping right now. So I'm going to keep the Kings as a 1st honorable mention, but still offensively, Fiala, Byfield, Turcotte, Kempe, Kopitar, all looking really good offensively. Defensively, Edmondson, Clark, Spence looking pretty dang good defensively. And in nets, both Kemper and Riddick have been doing really good in net. So it's still a really solid team, but they do lose a couple of games, and that's why I keep them at the 1st honorable mention spot. Those are 4 honorable mentions. Next, going over to my top 10 teams in the power rankings. So the 10th spot, my power rankings this week is the 26-17-6 New Jersey Devils. They did not have an overly great week this week. They went 0-2-2. They went winless, which is why I bumped them down from, I think it was like 4th or 5th last week to 10th. A really bad week there from the Devils as they fall a lot in the standings. They started the week out with a couple of extra time losses, one to Florida, one to Toronto, and then they had a back-to-back regulation losses to Philadelphia and Ottawa. So was not an overly great week. Offensively, definitely hurt a little bit this week. I think they only scored 1 goal in 3 of those 4 games. So offensively, they're taking a little bit of a step back at this point. Defensively, they're looking a little bit better, but still, it's not enough to get them the wins, and now they're falling a little bit behind in the Metro Division race. So like I said, offensively, taking a step back, but still Platt, Jack Hughes, Timo Meier, Nico Hischier all still look all right. Defensively, still not the best, but still Siegenthaler, Luke Hughes, Hamilton, still looking really great in the net. You have Markstrom and Allen, who have both been looking fantastic over the past while. So Devils, even though they had a really sour week, are still in the top 3 spot in the Metro, and even though they're falling a little bit right now, I do keep them in my top 10 as the 10th team. My 9th team in my power rankings is the 27th, 17-3 Florida Panthers. Panthers had a pretty good week this week, going 2-0, like we just talked about. Shootout win over the New Jersey Devils to begin the week. Then they fell at the hands of the Philadelphia Flyers, which was a bad loss for them. But after that, they were able to get a shutout win over the Anaheim Ducks. So 2 wins out of a possible 3. Pretty good week there for the Panthers, getting 4 out of a possible 6 points. You want to see them probably beat Detroit, especially given the fact they're lower than them in the standings. But they do get 4 out of a possible 6 points, which isn't overly bad this week. So an interesting week there from the Panthers, going 2-0. Still offensively, done really well this week. Reinhart, Barkov, Kachuk, Samuskevich, Lindell, all looking really good offensively. Defensively, maybe need to tighten up a little bit, but still looking pretty good. Ekblad, Forsling, Mikola, and in net. Knight gave the Panthers a shutout over Anaheim. Bobrovsky's still looking pretty good, so really good stuff there from the Panthers. As their 9th in my power rankings. 8th in my power rankings is the 29-16-1 Dallas Stars. So a fantastic week this week, going 2-0. They started out the week with a win over the Toronto Maple Leafs. Then they fell at the hands of the Montreal Canadiens. They lost again, this time to the Colorado Avalanche, before they beat the Detroit Red Wings to finish out the week. So a couple of interesting wins over Detroit and Toronto, bad losses to Montreal and Colorado. Wasn't an overly fantastic week there from the Stars, and one they probably want to have at least a win over Montreal, if not a win over Montreal and Colorado. But still, they had a pretty decent week offensively. Johnston, Duchesne, Bork, Stankoven, Robertson, all looking really good offensively. Defensively, Heiskanen, Lundqvist, Lindell, all looking pretty good defensively in the net. Andre and Smith still giving them some pretty dang good goaltending. So all in all, went 2-2 this week. Wasn't overly fantastic, but they were 500, and I'm putting them as my 8th team in my power rankings. The 7th team in my power rankings is the 28-16-3 Carolina Hurricanes. Hurricanes had a decent week this week, going 2-1-0. They started the week off with a loss to the Buffalo Sabres, which wasn't overly great, but then they finished it off with a couple of wins, being the Vegas Golden Knights and then the Chicago Blackhawks. So finished the week off strong. Really good stuff there for Carolina, who I think is now leapfrogged the Hurting Devils for 2nd in the Metro. The team's still looking pretty good. They're falling a little bit behind the Washington Capitals, but still they're on a pretty good tear right now, getting a couple of wins in the last little while. So offensively, clicking on all cylinders right now. Jarvis, Martina, Svechnikov, Aho, Stahl, all looking pretty good offensively. Defensively, Slavin, Burns, Chatfield, looking pretty good defensively. In the net, Anderson's now gone back, so it's a big boost for the Carolina Hurricanes D-core. And on top of that, Chekhov and Tokarski looked good earlier in the week, so pretty good stuff there from the Hurricanes, and I'm keeping them in the 7th spot in my power rankings. 6th in the power rankings this week is the Edmonton Oilers. Oilers went 2-0 this week. Started out with a back-to-back, a difficult back-to-back, but won both games. Were able to come away with a 5-3 victory over Minnesota, and they came from behind, overcoming a 3-0 deficit and beat the Colorado Avalanche 4-3. So a couple of really impressive wins against top teams in the Metro Division, but then they fell behind early against Vancouver to finish out the week and lost them 3-2. So wasn't a really great end to the week, but did get a couple of wins against some impressive Central Division rivals, which is why I bumped them up 1 spot to number 6. Still, Edmonton's looking a really good team. They're now tied Vegas in points for top spot in the Pacific. So Edmonton's looking really lethal offensively. Draisaitl, McDavid, Nugent-Hopkins, Skinner, Arvidsson, all looking really good offensively. Defensively, Emberson, Ekholm, Bouchard, all looking really good defensively in the net. Skinner and Picard both looking really good right now. So a really solid week there from the Oilers, going 2-1-0, and I had them as my 6th team in the power rankings. My 5th team in my power rankings is a team who really hurt last week, and that's the Vegas Golden Knights. Knights were 2nd last week in my power rankings, but I bumped them down after they went 0-3-1 this week to drop to a 29-14-4 record. So bad stuff there for Vegas. As they're falling, they lost to Nashville, they lost to Carolina, they lost to Chicago, all in regulation to start off the week, and then they finished it off getting a point, losing 5-4 in a shootout against St. Louis. So it wasn't an overly great way to end the week, but at least they got a point. But still, after going 0-3-1, I do bump them down to 5th place in my power rankings. They're still one of the top teams in the league. I think at 61 points. They're still like second in the Western Conference and tied for third in the league. So they're still a top 3 team. I do bump them down to 5th because of their sour week they had this week, but still, they're a really good team. Offensively, Carlson, Eichel, Roy, Barbashev, Hurdle, all looking really good this week. Hurdle especially. Defensively, Hannafin, Hag, White Cloud, all looking pretty good defensively in the net. Both Hill and Samsonov have given them some decent goaltending, but they could definitely be better as well. So a bad week there from Vegas, getting 1 of a possible 8 points. And because of their slipping, I do drop them to 5th in my power rankings. 4th in my power rankings is the 28-15-4 Minnesota Wild. The Wild, once again, didn't have an overly fantastic week this week. They went 1-2-0. They lost to the Edmonton Oilers. They lost to Nashville Predators, both in not overly great fashion, before they finish off the week with a massive victory over Colorado. So really great way to end the week. But I don't want to see them give up 6 goals to Nashville and lose 5-3 to Edmonton. So it wasn't a really great week there for the Wild. They went 1-2-0. And because of that, I do keep them at the 4th spot. But still, they're one of the top teams in the league. They're one of the top teams in the Central Division. They're nearing the 60-point plateau. And because of that, I do keep them as my 4th team. Like I said, offensively, Johansson, Rossi, Ogren, Boldy, Foligno, all looking really good offensively. Defensively, Faber, Spurgeon, Bogosian, all looking really good defensively in the net. Both Gustafsson and Fleury still been giving them some pretty good goaltending. So not overly great week there for the Wild, going 1-2-0, and I have them as my 4th honorable mention. My 3rd honorable mention is a team who won 3 times this week, and that is the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Leafs get a bump from last week. I think they were like 6th or 7th last week. They're now 3rd, which I think is the highest I've ever put the Leafs in my power rankings. They went 3-1-0 this week, started the week off with a bad loss to the Dallas Stars before they won their last 3 games of the week, beat the New Jersey Devils like we said in overtime, destroyed the Montreal Canadiens on Saturday like we said, and then they also finished the week with a win yesterday over the Tampa Bay Lightning. So a very fantastic week there from Toronto, winning 3 out of a possible 4 games, finishing off the week with a 3-game winning streak. That has been fantastic for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So honestly, a really good week there for Toronto. They are now the 2nd team in the Eastern Conference to reach 60 points. The first Atlantic Division team, they're starting to create some separation again between them and Florida. So really good stuff there from Toronto, and that's why I have them 3rd in my power rankings. Like offensively, Matthews looking really good, Marner, Nylander, Nyes, Kampf, all looking really good offensively. Defensively, Riley, McCabe, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, really good defensively in the net. Wool and Hildeby still looking pretty good in net. So a really solid week there from the Leafs, winning 3 out of a possible 4 games, and they put them as 3rd in my power rankings. 2nd in my power rankings is Winnipeg Jets, who had a decent week this week, going 2-2-0. Started out the week keeping on with their winning streak by beating the Vancouver Canucks 6-1, and then beating the Seattle Kraken narrowly 2-1, but then they ended the week with a couple of regulation losses to Calgary and Utah. So didn't have an overly great end to the week, but still got 4 of a possible 8 points, 2 of a possible 4 wins. Wasn't an overly bad week there for the Jets, and because of that, I do keep them in my 2nd spot on my power rankings. Like I said, Jets not overly good, but still offensively, this team is still clicking. Connor, Scheifele, Ehlers, Niederreiter, Baron, all looking really good offensively. Defensively, Morrissey, Pionk, Stanley looking pretty good defensively in the net. Hellebuck and Comrie are still looking pretty good. So all in all, even though they went 2-2-0 this week, had some really good defensive performances, and I do keep them as my 2nd team in my power rankings. And once again, number 1 in my power rankings this week is the Washington Capitals. Can't bump them. They went 3-0-0 this week. They started out the week with a shutout win over the Anaheim Ducks. Then they had a shutout win over the Ottawa Senators, as we mentioned, in overtime, before they finished off the week with a 4-1 victory over Pittsburgh. That defense and goaltending is looking outstanding right now, and they're getting enough offense to get them through some games. So all in all, pretty good week for the Capitals. Like, I don't think I can get them any lower than 1st in the power rankings right now. They are looking like a dominant and lethal team. They may wind up being the 1st team to reach 70 points this year. So like Capitals, offensively, Ovechkin, Mangiapane, Dubois, Strome, Radish, all looking really good offensively. Defensively, Chychrun, Carlson, Sandy, and Trevor Van Riemsdyk, all looking really good defensively in the net. Thompson, who's been starting with lingering out, has been looking phenomenal. So all in all, Capitals had a fantastic week, and they're able to pump their way to 1st in my power rankings yet again. So that's my power rankings at this current point in time. Those are the way I see it at this point in time. So just to remind you guys, the teams that I took out of the power rankings and the teams that I put in, there were only 3 teams this week. I took Tampa, who was 2nd honorable mention, Columbus, who was 3rd honorable mention, and Detroit, who was 4th honorable mention out of the power rankings. And I put St. Louis, who was 4th honorable mention, Montreal, who was 3rd honorable mention, and and Ottawa, who is second honorable mention, all in the power rankings. So that's the only switch-ups that I've had from over the past week. But just to recap, here's my top 10 power rankings for this week, week 14 in the NHL. At 10, we have the New Jersey Devils. 9 is the Florida Panthers. 8 is the Dallas Stars. 7 is the Carolina Hurricanes. 6, the Edmonton Oilers. 5, the Vegas Golden Knights. 4, the Minnesota Wild. 3, the Toronto Maple Leafs. 2, the Winnipeg Jets, and number 1 team in the power rankings yet again is the Washington Capitals. So definitely, after you guys' thoughts on all of this, down in the comment section below, they put anyone too high, they put anyone too low, and if you guys do a power rankings, who would you put in and out? Definitely, after you guys' thoughts on all of that, down in the comment section below. That's all I'm going to talk about for today. Remember to like this video. If you'd like to subscribe below, thank all your support right now to of you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget the subscribe button down below. Don't forget to comment down in the comment section below so I can also discuss in this video. Also a blog to about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that. So I'm going to check that out. I'll link down in the description below. And catch you guys all for the next video. See you guys soon.